I'd like to call to order the meeting of March 1st, 2018, the open session meeting of the Ayer Planning Board. My first request is to ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Be advised, although not listed, I will ask right after town planner update for a vote to confirm our new meeting schedule after the April elections. Okay. Which again, as we discussed, would be the second and fourth Tuesdays at 6:15. And that'll come right after town planner update. Okay then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. We have our first action is approving the minutes of February 1st, 2018. I need a motion, if you would, to approve the minutes of our February 1st
So moved.
meeting. Do I have a second? Did I hear that, Ken? Yeah.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. Sarah Goot. Okay, if you would give those to Heather, please. Okay, item first, and I want to welcome Chief Murray to our audience. And I invite you to the table if you see fit for site plan review, 54 Park Street, Ayer Police Department. Now, my question, Chief, is are you the spokesman for this, or should I
I will
invite?
not be, but I will introduce two gentlemen that I would like to the board to
Okay,
consider. being-
please ask them to come forward to the table. And state your names for the record, if you would.
John Fasella.
John Casella.
Fasella, with an F.
Okay.
F like in
Casella.
Frank, yeah.
Joseph Gadebeck.
Joseph Cadbeck. Okay, got that, Heather? Yeah.
So Joe is with Timberline, he's the construction company for the project,
Okay,
and then John is our project manager.
excellent. Welcome. Okay, Chief,
And I'll just leave it to them
yep,
to go ahead and present the project to you.
okay. And again, we'll certainly look to Mark as the interrogatory for these. I believe up front that we don't have any waivers to consider.
Correct. I was originally believing that we did because the original submission did not have these site plans that you see before you now. So now that we do have full site plans.
Okay.
they're-
What I'd like to do first then is ask the board to vote to approve accepting the site plan as presented for review, and that'll begin our discussion.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. Mark, do you want to lead this first, or?
No, I think
Okay,
the
good.
gentleman could go right
In
into
case there
the,
was any last minute
no?
data. Okay, Chief?
All
John?
right. Thank you. So let me just change the diagram for a second. It is probably the, the last one on the sheet. You have a miniature version. Well, not so miniature, but you have a version before you.
804.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you have the listing of the drawings, obviously, for your minutes. We'll get some of them.
They were going to decision here.
So it should be the last diagram. So we basically are doing things at three different sites. The Ayer Police
What,
Department.
A4? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The Ayer Police Department on Park Street, we are going to erect a 70-foot monopole in the back portion of the property. It's there's a fence that goes across the back and then comes forward towards Park Street. We're going to be in that back corner. That pole will support initially a 2-foot microwave dish, okay, so it's not very large. And later on, it may support 2 other VHF antennas for the fire department. So that's a depiction of it, looking at it from an elevation or a side view, and then from the top, you can see this is the property line. There's a rail line going behind here, the Pan Am line. They have given us full permission. I have a letter that I submitted to that effect. They have no problem with us putting this structure up. So if this is the building, this is the police building, the rough outline, this is Park Street, this is to the rear. And then we're going to bring a couple of cables into the building, and then there's going to be some radio equipment inside the building. So the external view is just this monopole.
That rail line's not operational, is it?
There
Yes.
are trains
Really?
Yes,
occasionally.
it's a siding for the businesses down on Fitchburg Road.
Okay, yeah, the
Used to be
windshield
the-
washer people.
Yeah, it used to be them,
Okay.
so they still use that crossing to get there.
Oh, okay, yep,
Yeah, so
Thank
it's occasional, but it's not
Yeah,
defunct
right.
by any stretch.
okay.
So we told them exactly what they were doing, and within about 2 days, they said, fine, no
Good,
problem.
good.
And I should emphasize that this pole, as all the other structures, per the specs that we created in the bid process, which Timberline won, is going to meet the standards, the national standards required today of telecommunications structures. That is specifically EIA ANSI 222G for golf. It used to be 22F for Foxtrot, but that changed after Katrina, and as a result, the standards went way up. So this structure and the others that we'll be talking about will all meet that. This structure is not going to have any guys or anything. It probably will be a wooden pole, but it might be a metal monopole. We haven't made that final decision. It doesn't make much difference to, I don't think, anybody. So that's what we're doing.
So this is in relation to an earlier discussion about the difficulties police and fire were having with their communications. Is that?
It's
Yes.
mostly police.
Yeah.
Fire will get some benefit on just putting extra stuff up, extra antennas. Right now, the police department is the one that's behind in the communication field. That occurred when the FCC narrow banded the band we were on. We were already having radio issues as it was, but when they narrow banded that, they made it more difficult. So now out in the, and you'll see later on in the presentation, out in the outskirts of town, our portable radios, if the officers are out of their cars, cannot communicate with headquarters at all. So this is all going to correct all of that.
Excellent.
And it's going to make an improvement in the way we communicate from the police station up to the tower, that's why we need the height and a new microwave. There'll be no new radios, this is just towers and antennas.
Yeah, this is what we call infrastructure. So, as the chief said, the portable and mobile radios that they're using in the cars and on their persons are not changing. They've modernized that. They're quite set with that. The problem, as he said, is that the infrastructure is really not kept up. There's security issues. I mean, basically, the radio base stations are in a wooden tool shed. There's vermin in there, all kinds of problems. It also is not safe against vandalism and so forth. So basically what we're doing in this particular case is creating a link between the Hilltop site and the police department where the dispatchers are to make the control of the system much better. And in addition, we're going to be putting alarms in various places in the system so that if there's entry into the site, if there's smoke inside the shelter or anything like that, the dispatcher would know about it immediately. We don't have any of that facility today. Somebody could go up there and burn the communication shed down, and the first thing they'd notice is nobody could talk. They wouldn't know why or when or whatever. So we're changing all of that.
I attended the town meeting last year when you made the presentation and, supported the proposal of town meeting. I'm presuming this is the same proposal, the same.
Yeah, we're finally getting going.
So
town meeting voted
so
the money.
the budget at town meeting is
Right.
basically what we're looking at now is the the planning process to go through the town, get the approvals to do the actual installation
Yes.
that was approved at town meeting. So I was interested in the comment you made about wood or steel. I mean, I would always prefer steel, but is it a galvanized? I mean, I don't know. Why would you say they're the same?
Well,
I would think it's steel.
telephone poles are remarkably
Okay.
weather resistant. I mean, when was the last time you saw a telephone pole was being replaced because it rotted?
Well, I didn't
Most
hear
of
you
it
say
is
that
because
this was going
cars
to
hit
match
it.
the construction of a telephone pole.
They typically
Wood or
last
steel.
80 to 100 years. The steel is galvanized, yes, and so that lasts a long time as well. It turns out, I believe Joe's looked into this, they're about the same, right, in terms of cost?
The pole, they're on about, yeah, as far as the pole, wooden
Okay.
pole as opposed to the steel pole. You know, you just got the aesthetics
I was
look
gonna
of
say,
a
it might
wooden
look
pole
better.
as opposed to a steel pole.
Okay, but this would, so the treatment this would have the same treatment as we typically see with a utility pole,
Yes.
basically what we're talking about.
Right, it gives
Same
it that
dimensions,
life.
only tapered, well, this is shown tapered, I think, or not tapered, I don't know. It's shown as tapered, but.
It would be tapered because,
Yeah.
you know, it's coming, and a pole of this size is a special order. Most utility poles are 30 to 40 feet.
Right.
This is 70 feet, so, you know, they gotta go pick the right tree.
So you're able
Fell.
to anchor a wooden pole with some kind of base plate and anchor bolts and concrete or whatever you're gonna do and get the same compliance with the federal requirement as you will with a steel pole. Basically what
Right,
you're saying.
it's based on the embedment of the pole. So the
Okay.
pole itself is 70 feet above grade level, but there's a 10% factor into the ground, and then it's embedded in like a concrete flowable fill type material.
Yeah, and he has a civil engineer that's doing the foundation design to ensure that it meets the EIA 222G wind requirements.
Right.
Now, the other thing I saw is this, the police station, as you obviously know, does fall in our overlay district. So when you went to ZBA, was that one of the questions you had to raise with ZBA, is that a portion of the work was not in our wireless communications overlay district? Was that one of the things that came
That
up?
issue has come up, yes.
Okay. So this complies with our zoning the way it is right now,
Mhm.
this particular piece, the police station.
That I don't know.
Yeah, so-
I'm not as familiar with.
But it's-
I know you have a wireless overlay district, and one of the 3 sites is in that.
Right,
I'm not
yes.
so sure about
The
these
Hilltop
sites.
site is also,
No.
uh,
So this is the. this
that one. Maybe I'm, yeah,
The
the
east
other
side
one.
of town isn't, but Washington Street is not.
Oh, okay.
The police
So
station.
they're going to the
so it is.
ZBA for that, yeah.
Unless it's, no, maybe it isn't. Actually, it isn't, because it's the other side of the tracks. Okay, so you have the same zoning problem in, I guess, 2 locations.
Yes, as far as we know.
Further questions from the board?
I mean, my main concern is that it's pretty much a hidden location, I guess, here, so it shouldn't affect too many people. It's up against a railroad line, which has got a lot of poles on it anyway, most likely. So it might blend right in, so I don't have any concern with the Park Street location.
Yeah, there's some foliage along, there's a chain link fence at the back, and there's some foliage along there. There is one abutter as you're facing the station to the left,
Yep.
that's off of Brook Street. I think it's one.
Yeah, touchy on
Right.
Dutch? Yeah. Has he commented at all?
He has not. I reached out to him and want to talk about it. I have not been able to make contact with him yet.
Okay.
But he would have been notified for the ZBA.
He would have notified, yeah,
Yeah.
the ZBA
So
sent
he's-
out those notifications, so he should have gotten it.
Legally notified.
Yep, yep, okay. Further questions from the board, if any? Okay, any final comments on 54 Park Street? Okay. I dare say then we are ready to call for a vote to approve the site plan review for 54 Park Street as presented.
Any comments from Bob?
No, I was thinking of potential conditions, but I think most of it has to do with the ZBA process, not, the telecommunication aspect of it. So,
So I need that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Unanimous. Moving on then to Hilltop Street. Or should I say Highland Ave, Hilltop Water Tank Site?
So there are two exhibits in what you have. The first one I'll put up shows the overall view of the site on town property, and the second one is a little bit more detailed view of exactly the details of the site, essentially. Yeah, let's put that one up. Sure, that one first. Is that a CO one? Yeah. So let's do CO one first. And then CO one.
That would be A3, I take it, huh?
Well, first one I'm going to show you is CO one.
Which is the first one, CO.
Okay, okay.
They want me to.
Thanks, Joe.
So, so to give you a little bit of an orientation, this is Washington Street. The elementary school is over here. The high school is over here. And there's a sort of playground down in a sort of park over here. And Norwood Avenue goes down here. And the property that's owned by the town is actually not exactly shown here, but it's something like this. Goes over to here and then over. So the town really owns a lot of property. And I guess at one point in the 60s, this parcel was ceded to the schools for the elementary school. There is a dirt road that runs up to slight grade from the paved driveway that goes into the elementary school. This is all wooded up here, except for this part of it. There were originally 2 water tanks up here that were taken down about a year ago. And the newer tank, of course, has been existent, I don't know how many years, 10 or 20 years at least. So what we're doing is we're trying to be smart and save money. We're using the existing pads that were left by the old tanks, and we're putting a concrete shelter up there that we purchased used, again, to save money. And on the other pad, we're going to put an emergency generator and a propane tank, 1,000-gallon propane tank. We don't have that facility today. So basically, if you lost power for an extended period of time, which I don't have to tell New Englanders happens a lot, the site runs on battery power right now in a wooden tool shed that's right there, and then after a while it just dies. So instead, what we're doing is we're putting in new batteries, but more importantly, we're putting in this standby generator with a 1,000-gallon tank that'll last several weeks. And then we have another facility with essentially a receptacle. So if this should fail or eventually need maintenance or what have you during an extended period of time, like a Superstorm Sandy kind of a thing, we could have a roll-up generator. You know, we could go to one of these rental places and roll up a generator and plug it in and keep going. So that's conceptually what we're doing. But the important thing overall is that we're putting up a 120-foot guide tower. And we'll show you that in a second. So all of this is on town property. The guys, the foundations for the guys are these rectangles. The red dots show the guide directions, essentially. And we have done this in such a way, or I should say Timberline has oriented the tower in such a way that these guys do not interfere with the DPW's access to their water tank and their gate, which is over here. So that's the big picture. If you don't have any questions, I'll get to the next one, which is a little bit more detailed.
Questions from the board? Okay.
Okay. So this is a typical, engineering diagram from which Timberline's people will work. So there's a lot of detail on here, probably more than you might want, but it's good for our ultimate purpose, which is the build out. So assuming we got all the approvals, our intention would be to put the tower up in the spring time. It requires a concrete foundation, and the 3 guys require concrete foundations. So we're getting closer to a time when we can actually do that. The tower itself will be grounded, and there's a whole elaborate ground system that is going to be on the site. And that will connect to the shelter ground, it will connect to the generator, and so forth. And then there is going to be what we call an ice bridge. It's basically a metal tray sort of affair that runs between the shelter and the tower, and also between the shelter and the tank. And we run the coaxial cables underneath so that if ice falls, it doesn't hurt the coaxial cables. The reason we're running to the water tank, I should explain this. The water tank currently holds all the antennas today. We're going to replace the antennas because they've been up who knows how long, and antennas do degrade in the weather. So we're going to put up all new antennas with one exception, the spare antenna for the fire department. We're going to use the one they have. We're going to put new antennas up, but we are going to maintain a microwave dish up here, which is going to shoot towards Pingree Hill, because that just saves tower steel. Otherwise, the tower might have to be a little beefier to hold 2 of these dishes. It's not that the dishes at 2 feet or 1 feet weigh very much. It's that if the tower sways, imagine a flashlight beam that you would hold, a really good one. You start swaying, you're not seeing the guy that you're trying to look at, right? So that's exactly what's taking place. So we put one in the tower here, the tank rather, so that we don't have to worry about sway, and then the other one going to Ayer Police Department is up at 116 feet. Let's see, anything that I should add?
No, you cover the overall height and
The
then
height of the tower. Height of the,
structure.
Yeah, so I'll get to the next diagram and you can actually
Well,
see it.
before you move on, just
Sure.
a thought occurs to me. You're basing this again on the concrete pads that are already there, which kind of tells me that the tower is going to be above the ground mounted, as opposed to 10 or 20% of the tower being in the ground.
So this kind of tower is different, and
Right.
I didn't want to mislead you. We're using the
Well,
existing...
my basic question goes to, I believe that's all rock ledge, and if there were blasting involved, and would there be? Sounds like there won't be.
I believe we were told by Superintendent Wessel that he believed there was not ledge up there. I can remember having a meeting some time ago.
Okay.
So our belief is that there's not ledge. If we encounter it, of course, we'll have to do some blasting. But yes, this is going to have its own concrete foundation, which is specified by the tower manufacturer so that it withstands the EIA 222G wind loading, and ditto for the 3 guy anchors.
Okay.
So they're basically just hunks of concrete, steel reinforced in the ground. There are galvanized mounting bolts that come up and mate to a plate that the tower sits on top of.
Okay.
And then everything is grounded to a site.
Is that a
ground.
fail-safe to the guys being let go, or no?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
It's being held in place by guy lines, right?
Yes, there are 3 there are 3 directions of guy lines, and there are two guys, I think, or is it 3?
3.
Is it 3?
We have 2 different elevations, upper and lower guide wires, that stabilize the tower as far as keeping it upright. And
So one keeps it from falling in case the other 2 go away?
No.
I'm just,
No, you need all 3.
yeah,
You need all 3, and they will be also individually fenced.
okay.
So not only will there be the site fencing, which you can see around here,
Yeah.
and that's going to attach to the existing site fencing that's around the tank. Our fencing will be 8 feet high, 3 strands of barbed wire facing outward to discourage vandals or bad guys from getting in. And then
Okay.
the same thing will happen around each guy anchor, because somebody with a pair of bolt cutters take the tower down.
It's the world we live in.
Yes, it is. It is.
Thank you.
And the other thing I should mention is that the power for the site is down on Washington Street. There's a pole down there, and then right next to it, there's a second pole with what amounts to the master disconnect and the power meter. So we're going to put a small fence right around that as well to
Okay.
discourage anybody from fooling around with it.
Good, good.
So that's that. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? And I'll show you the elevation.
Yeah, back up to that Washington Street, this statement you just made
Sure.
on the plan.
Yeah.
Just show me where
You want me to show you where that is?
the connection is
Yeah, if you go,
down here,
yes,
this thing.
utility pole, there we go, yep. Yeah, there's actually a pole that's closer to Washington Street that is a power pole, and then slightly going up the road, maybe 5 feet away, 6 feet away, is the other pole. I can actually show you a visual of it. I have one on the computer.
So there's a manual disconnect down here currently for the operation that's up there now,
Yes, yes,
and it's not fenced in.
that's correct.
This must be locked and bolted, and it's gotta have something on it.
It's got a small padlock, yes.
But I mean, someone could
but
snip the
again,
padlock and shut the whole thing.
I've been doing public safety communications.
I gotta look at, I walk down here all the time, so I'll take a look at that. I
Yeah.
walked around here too.
This is what public safety communications requires, is a lot more physical security than ever.
Absolutely.
For reasons that should be obvious to you all, right?
Mhm.
We live in
Good.
a different world. Yeah, just put it on.
The other reason for the fencing around the guys is to discourage kids from climbing on the,
Right, right,
you know, obviously, we're near a school, you know, we just want
Right.
to discourage that kind of thing.
yeah,
So this is looking at the site, and you see the tower has a taper and it fits into a plate. These are the two guys going up in each of 3 directions. The tower itself, the tank itself is almost 80 feet tall and currently carries similar kinds of antennas. They'll all be taken down with the exception, we're going to add one microwave dish that's going to shoot to Pingree Hill. And then this will carry a microwave dish way up here, and this will shoot to the police department. And then there'll be 6 total antennas up there, 3 for the police, 1 for fire, 1 spare for fire, and 1 for DPW. We're also improving, as the chief said, this benefits all town departments. We're improving the DPW's communications.
excellent.
Right now, they just talk unit to unit. They don't have a repeater up on a hilltop. We're going to give them a repeater
Right.
on a hilltop. And of course, they'll have the benefit of the backup power and everything else. So that's essentially what we're doing. This is a depiction of the concrete communication shelter that's bullet resistant and is a typical cellular shelter that we bought used. And it's also got a high security lock and so forth. It's got 2 heating and air conditioning units in the back and so forth. So we're kind of going to be in a very different place than we are today in a wooden tool shed with no fencing.
Questions from the board, if any?
Why does the shelters call it to be an existing equipment shelter?
Because it's there now.
The new one's there now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it is?
It was put there in April of last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the new shelter that was part of the town meeting proposal that was available somewhere else to be purchased used is already on the site?
Correct. It was put up last spring, almost a year ago.
Okay,
But
thank
it's
you.
just sat there because we didn't have all the approvals, we didn't have all the other things, so, we just had to wait. But it was one of those things, we got a deal.
I understand that.
We
I
had,
just-
we
I
had,
didn't
we had
realize
to
that-
move fast.
I didn't realize what was up there now was the one. Okay.
I was told to move fast, so we moved fast.
Mark your territory.
That's right.
Further questions from the board? No?
That's it.
Anything further on Hilltop site? Okay, let me ask for again a motion then to approve the site review as
I guess how
presented.
tall is the whole thing? We talk about that 120 feet?
120.
Just 20 feet. Which is
Fifteen
40
tower
feet,
80, so
about 40 feet
60
taller than
high.
the tent.
The dish is gonna be at 116.
See it. Close
It's
to
2
it.
feet.
One more time. Any further questions from the board?
No.
All right. Let me ask then for a motion to approve the site plan review for Highland Ave Hilltop Water Tank Site as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve drawings A01 and A02. Excuse me. C01, A01 and A02. In accordance with the site plan submitted. for the Hilltop Water Tank Site Telecommunications Tower.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Unanimous. Click, click, click. On to Woodland Way and Hemlock Drive.
Okay, so this is on Pingree Hill. This is where the new water tank is. They're building some sort of a subdivision out there. Every time we go visit it, there's something changed.
Let me tell you, they've been building it for over 20 years, and I was on the planning board 20 years ago when they first started. So this Pingree Hill just won't go away. It just keeps going.
Some projects take longer than others.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there is a water tank up there. It's a concrete structure, and there is an access road that, if I have
It comes up from this area.
Yeah.
It comes up
Snake
there.
Hill, probably?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, it comes around here
Mountain
this
Ave.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Get exactly what they need.
So, what we propose to do, and we walked the site with Superintendent Wetzel, Joe and I did a month or two ago, and he's fine with it. We're basically towards the rear of this structure. We are going to locate another monopole, 70-foot monopole, identical essentially to what we're going to do at the police station, and put a fence around it again. But this site is a little different because the power is going to be separate. So it doesn't make any noise. It's environmentally, green and so forth. And the only radio equipment up there is a receiver, not a transmitter. It's a receiver to help the problem that the chief told you about. When units are on Willow and in that area over by the high tension yard, the switching yard and so forth, sometimes they have trouble communicating. I've personally been with 4 different officers doing ride-alongs, and I can attest to the fact that it's dicey. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So by putting a receiver that listens out there, plus a receiver that we'll have at the hilltop, we have a choice, and we have a thing called a voter that chooses which signal. So when they call back on their low-power little portable radios, they're more likely to be heard. And then to bring that signal back to hilltop to be voted, so to speak, we have a microwave dish. So there'll be a 2-foot dish up about 65 feet on the pole, and there'll be a VHF antenna at the very top. And the solar panel array, there'll be a battery box, there'll be a radio box. That's it.
Okay.
So the power that's needed up here must be tiny, really tiny, for that, for the small amount of solar panels that you have there to support it.
We've done the calculations. I did them initially, and then the solar company did it. When you do solar calculations, you get into a lot of stuff like how many days are you totally cloudy and you don't have any sun, how many days are you totally covered with snow. So you've got to take that into account. And we also had a slight margin of increase because at some point the fire department may put a repeater box up there for their radio alarm boxes. So in the end of the day, we have a solar array that's large enough to deal with those kinds of days in New England. The microwave link is up all the time. Doesn't draw a lot of power. It's only a fifth of a watt of radio energy, but of course there's other electronics in there. So the bottom line is between that and the radio receiver that is operating sometimes when it's receiving a signal, you gotta run all that on batteries. So the solar array charges the batteries keep it running during snow days or cloudy days or whatever, and we feel very confident that it's going to work fine.
Okay. Any questions by the board?
Just the neighborhood, I guess, this is more residential. So again, ZBA is talking about this issue, it's really not, I guess, did you get any feedback from the neighborhood up there?
This particular site's already been approved by the ZBA
Okay,
at that meeting we had earlier.
Yeah, this is in the wireless zone.
right. I see
As
that,
it
yeah.
turns out, there's a cellular tower maybe 200 feet away, something like that. It's about 200 feet high. The reason we're not going on the cellular tower is because they're going to charge the town money.
Yeah.
And the rates are never cheap. And Joe can attest to that because he used
Yes.
to work for the Carrolls. So,
They're meant to make money, so.
yes, and the other thing is now you get into potential interference issues both ways. So rather than do that, we just put our own site up a few hundred feet away, and we don't have to worry what they're doing. So this is in the wireless zoning area, and there is actually no residence anywhere near here right now. There will be someday when that Pingree Hill thing is finished, but I mean, they're gonna buy a house and they're gonna know what's there. So,
I had black hair when it started, so. Any further questions from the board? Sue?
Yes. Is this area with the antenna and the solar panels, is this already cleared?
it is cleared, but it is not necessarily perfectly graded.
Okay.
So that, there might be some work that has to be done. In fact, there's a slight grade there that Superintendent Wetzel has pointed out to us, so we have to look into that. We might have to bring some fill up there or something like that.
And the crushed stone driveway is
That's existing.
already existing?
Yep.
Okay, further questions from the board, if any? Okay, let me ask for a motion to approve the site plan review for Woodland Way and Hemlock Drive as presented.
So moved?
Second.
Second, discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. I believe that's a done deal, gentlemen. I believe, Heather, we can get this typed up a couple of days, week.
About a week.
Yeah. Give me a call. I'm out of town on the
Yes, yes.
17th, so
That's a Saturday.
we'll get it done before then.
17th Saturday. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Right. But I mean, we'll get it done. I'm
Yeah,
not- I'm not leaving.
I'll have it done probably by the end of the next week,
Yeah.
or the beginning of the following, that Monday.
Yes, yes. But we didn't get these plans until yesterday, so I didn't have a lot of time to comment on it. Right, yes.
I wonder
Yeah,
if I
not
should,
yet,
put a
since
vice
they
chair in
just-
place,
right.
because I've been traveling a lot.
You think about that, you get the solar panels to it.
Well, you're
Right.
going to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Actually,
Thank you very much for your time. Chief, always a pleasure.
At the battery storage and everything.
Right. Right. Yep, so we'll go through this next.
I was thinking that's gonna be a small scale, 12 panels is a small scale.
That's small scale. Yes, I know, so it's allowed in all districts, I know, thank God. I was thinking about that too. Gonna ask them how much,
About the same.
yeah,
But they really have to just figure out how to pick them. There's too many trees like that.
Jim, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a 2-minute pause for the cause here.
Okay, okay. I'll get that.
It's that small.
You could file that in.
Yeah, I'll
your-
file it, yeah.
Yep.
More the merrier, I
Who
mean,
went out there
one for every
again?
file.
After that, they fixed it. I don't know if it's you. All right, I'll show them all the shit. Thank you.
Can I give you some paper to recycle at some point?
Sure.
This is all February 15th stuff here.
Right here.
Which I really
Little
don't
bit,
need.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't need it.
Oh, February 15th. Okay, hold on.
Some of it's good, some of it's not.
Yeah, it's the
I
15th,
just
so I
don't-
wasn't here, but like, make sure
Change
make
it.
sure I have my copies of the minutes and everything. They
Yeah.
get filed, so
I just don't like, I don't keep anything at home.
Pass this out.
so I'll take all your copies whenever I go.
Different from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All this is good.
Okay.
Town meeting day.
Yes.
These are,
I'll hold on to all of it, so I can make sure it's different.
this I'll hold on to until we get.
Yeah.
We want to update it.
Okay, I have the same thing that you have, except I took away the highlighting. But, so we'll pass this out for when we discuss the zoning changes.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
good luck. Does Jim have one?
I do,
Oh, you
yeah.
do, okay. Yep.
That's just the top page.
I double sided. Oh. Conserving paper.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the continued public hearing of the new proposed revision to our air zoning bylaw. Mark, if you would...
Yes, Mr.
update
Chairman.
us as to...
Yes. I was going to bring to your attention, I put on your tables, right in front of you, this, it says Section 5 use regulations.
Yep,
There are two, what I consider to be typo changes that we should make to be consistent with the table.
yep,
The first is, this is as written by the consultant, Y permitted as of right. That Y should be a P for permitted. So it doesn't change the meaning of anything. It's just to be consistent between the text and the table. The second is there is one item in the bylaw that is actually a special permit through the selectmen, and that's for the earth removal operations. And the consultant informed me that that is standard practice in Massachusetts, and that's the way it is in the table.
yeah.
But she did not put that in the little description in the text. So I would recommend that we add SPS. We have SPB, Special Permit Planning Board, SPZ, Special Permit Board of Appeals. SPS would be Special Permit Board of Selectmen, just for that one use. And that is fully consistent with what we have. It's not really a substantial change.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep, so that is one. And then the other little typo that was caught was on the table itself, section 4.4, under extensive uses. It should say commercial removal of sod, stone, loam, or other earth products for use elsewhere within the town. I think the word use was left out. And it said for the elsewhere within the town as
Yeah.
originally submitted. So
Okay.
that should be for use elsewhere within the town.
Yeah.
So again, that is just clarifying the existing meaning. So I would ask that the planning board ratify those two, or those sets of minor changes under the category of typo, and we could make that change in the bylaw.
Okay. Need a motion then to ratify changes under 5.2 as illustrated by our town planner.
And 4.4 in the table of uses.
Well, I was going to do them one at a time.
Yes, okay. So,
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Unanimous. I need a motion to ratify the changes as recommended by our town planner to table 4.0, specifically 4.4.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Unanimous. Okay, Mark, further
Okay.
discussions on
Then I believe,
section
yes, Mr. Diskin had...
2.0?
Mr. Diskin had a few questions about the change table that was, the table that I just passed out, or changes that were made from the earlier version, what I call the October 5th version of the bylaw, and the February 15th version.
Okay.
Many of these were done internally based on review of the Economic Development Director, Alan Minoyan, the building inspector, and myself.
Right.
We went through Judy's draft and tried to fine-tune a few things that looked like they needed to be
Okay.
fine-tuned. So I know
Let me-
Mr. Diskin had a few questions or comments about some of these, and so...
Okay.
well,
Let me open it up then by saying, any questions on our table of definitions here? 2.0, 3.0, 4.0.
Yes.
Ken?
So 2.0, the very last item, it says remove the definition of accessory apartment to which being tabled until October 2018. I just don't have an explanation of that. Will we give an explanation of that? Anybody?
Yes, again, the building inspector was I'd say fairly adamant that accessory apartments be removed at this time. And that he agreed in a meeting of staff to have that item, accessory apartments, placed on a special town meeting warrant in October. He believed that it needed a little bit more study, and I'm willing to do that. And we felt that was the best way to move this forward, since he was...
I just didn't understand.
I know, we invited him to attend the meeting, and he unfortunately had to be out of town tonight.
Well, if the town wants it, it's in. So you're basically saying you want to get a warrant question to the town as to whether we take it out?
No, you said. Take it out.
No, we're
it's...
taking it out of warrants
It's taken out.
question
Right,
later.
it's been
if
taken
we
out.
Put it back in, but I think that's going along with my understanding for this last year, is that we're trying to get this new zoning bylaw package passed without anything controversial in it, and anything that is controversial that might hang up the package will be done separately.
Okay, so in other words, we're
Exactly.
leaving it in for,
Well, accessory apartments was in the draft that the consultant prepared,
right.
and the building commissioner was adamant that it be removed for his reasons.
And we're saying leave it in.
No, we're saying,
We-
that's what we're discussing. I think we're
Right.
discussing.
And so internally amongst staff, we decided that because of the building inspector's adamancy about this item, and he being a town voter, that in order to facilitate passage of the entire bylaw, which is a vast improvement over the existing, that it would be in the best interest of the town to remove accessory apartments for now.
And
And-
put it
and
in
take it up
October
in
as a
Oc-
special,
Correct, yes.
okay.
Tom says, now that.
Yeah, I agree, because it's a major change. I just got a feeling that the town's going to want it. And I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come up.
Right, and it may come up, and what I am prepared to do is to have the full text as it was in the bylaw originally in
Okay,
in
so
my
the planning
back pocket,
board's
so to speak.
response to
Right.
someone in the audience indicating why do we not have accessory apartments in it,
Mhm.
is that we have reviewed that and feel that it's best as a separate ballot question in October?
Yes,
Could we do it as a separate warrant article for this town meeting?
no, we've passed the deadlines for posting the warrant.
So the next question is, what is our rationale for not putting it in, based on building commissioner's recommendation? I mean,
Yes.
Zoning enforcement officer's recommendation. You're
Right,
saying
well,
he's
he's also the
zoning
building
enforcement-
commissioner.
Yes.
Right,
But I mean,
yes.
the
He's the
thing
one
is,
enforcing your.
the reason I wanted him to come to our meeting is to tell me, why do you feel this way?
I think you have to move that to the next meeting, but
Yeah, we could. I mean, the next meeting on March 15th is before the March 19th.
Well, let's get him to the March
Yes.
15th meeting. I'm
Yes.
inclined to,
Yes,
put it in.
he'll be back, and we can invite him to the March 19th. I know.
I don't see, unless he gets up vociferously and tips the whole thing over, which potentially he could do. I mean, at least potentially. And we really don't want that.
Correct, and that is why we felt it was in the best interest of the town and
Separate
passage of the
discussion.
bylaw
Let's see
to.
if we can get him to March 15th.
Yeah, we can
meeting.
see if we can get him to March 15th, yep.
I thought he was gonna be here tonight, but,
Yes, I was hoping as well, and unfortunately,
okay.
couldn't happen.
Further
I'd be
question?
willing to go along with this. Now that I've heard that Mr. Ashambo, Mr. Pomp, and Charlie Schultz all discussed it separately, and they are the professionals and probably have a better handle on it than I do, I would be willing to go with their recommendation, but for now,
Right.
but I still think we should get
And let's
Further.
push to make it sure it happens in October if it doesn't
something
happen.
like that.
Yes.
I don't know that
And I
this
think
one
Sylvia-
particular thing could change the vote, but I think there's been a few things that
Right.
if you added them all together would,
Right.
sink it and.
Mhm.
The feeling that I got, I did talk to Charlie about this a long time ago. The feeling I got was, and I think he has statistics to show it, that the town of Ayer presently has quite a few affordable apartments when you get right down to basic brass tacks. And that potentially we didn't need any more apartments as such. Now, this may not be a pure apartment, it's like separately defined, but he has a feeling that we've got a plentiful supply of affordable apartments that could be called accessory apartments.
Right,
in one-
right.
So he may have a valid point. I'd rather get the whole thing passed, and
Yeah,
if Mark says we should do it, I'll go with Mark's recommendation.
okay.
The people
I just wanted
that
to talk about
currently have accessory apartments aren't going to be affected by this, right? They're-
Oh, no, if they
they're
exist now, they're
grandfathered, so nobody has to
grandfathered.
panic
Correct,
Right.
correct. Anything that's existing now
Yeah, would be,
is grandfathered. You know, it might be a non-conforming use, so you couldn't expand the size of it or put in new bedrooms or
Yeah.
something, but it would be existing.
yeah. Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay, further, Ken, to any questions you may have?
I guess, how do we want to?
Just go down the list if you'd like. Oh, oh.
Basically, I think the other stuff was changed, so, I had a question on, there's a section you can find, there was one on structures.
Right, is that general regs?
Structures?
There's a section that refers to.
Oh,
the-
about setbacks for structures, yes.
Yeah.
Where was that?
I got it right.
What structures?
It has to do with the front yard setback.
Yes.
Maybe it's not here anymore.
No, it is, it should be. You just showed it to me, so it's got to be there. I'm just not finding it right now.
Here's the old one, yeah. So it was,
Oh, and the definitions?
it was in front setbacks.
It says front yard front, no structures are defined with.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Excuse me.
oh,
Thank you.
oh,
Right
okay,
in
what
front.
section
It's
reference,
like
what
right on the
section
front
reference
page.
is that, so I can
Yeah.
look it up right now?
It's under definitions.
Oh, it's in definitions, okay.
Okay, right.
Oh, there it is,
about the
yes.
fourth item from the bottom, it says,
Yard front,
at
okay.
the end
there
of
it
yard
is.
front, add the slope. No structures as defined herein shall be placed within the front yard setbacks. The problem I have is that if you look at the definition of structures as defined herein, it includes things like walls, and maybe a flagpole, and other items that could easily be in the front yard setback. So that's the question I was raising.
What's defined as a structure?
If you go to the definition of structures, what it is, it just says proposed according to the definition.
If I could, we should look at the table of dimensional requirements, which again did not change, but I believe, and this was one of the earliest things that Charlie brought to our attention, given the front yard setbacks being pretty minimal, he didn't think it would, if somebody wanted to put a flagpole up, they could still do so, and it would be in their front yard. It just wouldn't be in the first how many feet. So let me look. So the front yard setback, I'll read the front yard setbacks for each of the zones. Okay, so in the A1 rural zone, which is 40,000 square feet lot area, the front setback is 35 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A2 is 20 feet.
Yep.
General residence is 20 feet. There's no setback for downtown business, but that's business. So, yeah, for the residential zones, you're talking 35 or 20 feet.
It's a variance.
So if you read the definition,
So-
the last sentence of the definition. says,
Of structure.
reviewing stand platform, fence, 6 feet or more in height, sign, flagpole, recreational tramway, mast, radio antenna. I guess the only one I really have a problem with is somebody wants to put a flag in the front.
Flagpole,
I guess they go
yeah.
ask for it.
Yeah.
Just forget about it.
Do you think 20 feet or A1 would be impacted the most,
Yeah.
requiring 35 feet?
If you change that, you don't,
Retaining
if you're
wall.
opening it up to.
Okay, let it go.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to think of Charlie's rationale for recommending that, but he had some problem came up in the past where he wanted to put that
Well,
clause in there.
what's your definition of structure?
Well,
That's
Yeah,
what
that's-
you read,
When
fence
I
or
read it,
retaining
Right.
wall.
it could-
Over 6 feet,
could be a retaining wall.
and that's Mass General law, it's over 6 feet.
Contains more than 4 feet of unbalanced fill. But it does talk about a flagpole, but I think the point is that if these things come up, they can get a variance and get it.
So I don't have to take my temporary wishing well out of my front yard.
You might have to.
Well,
Combination of
yeah,
materials assembled in
Okay.
fixed
Yeah,
locations
foundation.
give support to a shelter such as a building, retaining wall which retains more than 4 feet, that's something. 10 to 100 feet, use of 10 locations, reviewing stand, platform, fence, sign, flagpole. I guess they're typically things that we wouldn't see there, so.
Okay.
I just was trying to get it cleared up.
Okay.
That was all I had, thank you.
All right, further to any definitions and/or, Ken,
No,
we're good?
good.
Okay. Further discussion then, Mark, on,
No, I just wanted, since this is the last evening of the public hearing,
Right.
let's make sure we do due diligence on
right,
on the table of changes and make sure, because this is the time that if we want to change anything for town meeting, it would be the best time to do
Right.
so. Though again, I would recommend that we keep it to a minimum, but.
okay, so we'll get a revised handout, I take it, for town meeting.
Yes, there'll be a handout of summarizing the zoning
Summary.
bylaw and the changes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then,
Yes.
I think it's time we close the public
have
hearing
any-
on,
Well, do you have anything else, Ken? Okay. I also, I'll bring this up just so we could discuss it. One thing in internal discussions that came up was the ubiquitous issue of self-storage units. I know that in the future, we're going to be looking at the general business districts, which is the location for most of these now.
right,
So internally, we decided to prohibit them in the general business district and allow them in the industrial districts. That's Table of Use Regulations, Appendix A, self-storage units.
We should propose this resolution.
Yep, so
what line are you on?
on page 2 of the change sheet, under Table of Use Regulations at the very bottom, underneath 10,
Okay.
it says Appendix A.
Right,
I'll just read this. New use listing, so it's a new use listing for self-storage units, which prohibits them in all the residential districts, allows them by special permit planning board in the mixed-use transitional district, prohibits them in the general business district, allows them by special permit planning board in the light industrial district, and prohibits them in I, which used to be heavy industrial and healthcare services.
okay,
And we put thought into this, and I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. It goes along with looking down the line for revitalization of both Park Street and West and East Main Streets. We felt revitalization interests would be best served by not having self-storage units taking up too much area in those
Okay.
business districts. But if people differ on that, now is the time to.
comments from the board?
Thank you.
I feel we've approved, the zoning board of appeals and the planning board approved the either existing or the pending new construction of the self-storage in those areas, so I agree with Mark that that's probably enough of that in those areas now.
Yeah, we don't want anybody else down there.
We should look for those. We should look for them in the industrial areas as
Yep.
proposed.
Yep,
Yeah,
Okay.
of course, existing ones and ones that have gotten their permits are, of course, can
Okay.
be constructed and.
comments, Calvin? It is a public hearing.
Yeah, I hate competition, so keep everybody else out of it.
Cal?
Yeah, so Mark, what you just said was people that have their permits, have already got special permits, they're good to go.
Correct.
So we're not at risk there, and it's actually
Right.
in the the mixed-use transitional district anyways.
Actually, down there is in general business. We decided to not extend mixed-use transitional to that part of East Main Street, West Main Street.
So that's a change from what you showed on your website last time.
Well, the website, the map was, the map, here's the corrected zoning map. The only mixed use being proposed is for Central Avenue, so this zoning is what it has been for years and years and years.
That's the pink stripe?
We're not changing that. That was blue by accident.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't blue, it was just, it's hard to tell.
Whatever.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it's hard to differentiate.
Trust me, I look at them every
So
day.
that
I have a
is
hard
now
time
general
telling
It
which
looked
one.
right on
Yeah,
that.
It's the state.
It looked right on the internet. You should have just
But you're
passed out
grandfathered
a.
in with your
Well,
permit.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody.
Yes.
I looked at these the other day, the
Look
other
at
one,
map
and
again,
it's
it's a big
tough.
improvement.
You could tell that it's not,
Okay.
It's a huge
that
improvement.
you have
Yeah.
that.
Okay, again, refocusing back to, I think we're at a point where we close the public hearing on
that's on the general bylaw. We also have the solar bylaw if there's any
I
questions
realize,
about that.
yeah.
Okay.
Need a motion to close the public hearing on the proposed revisions to Ayer zoning bylaw?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, there being none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, continuing then with the public hearing on the proposed solar bylaw. Discussion. Anyone? I'll move
We'll see if-
quickly to close
We'll
it.
see if Ken has
I
something.
have a question.
Yes,
Yes.
You have a copy of it, Cal?
come forward, Cal, if you would. You can-
So I was just reading through it.
If you could move up to the mic for the people at home.
So under modifications, 8.5.6.1.4,
8 point.
on page 3, middle of page 3, modifications.
Heather, I gave you my copy
Well, why did you do
prematurely, I
that?
think. No, I didn't, okay. Go ahead. I got it.
So you're talking about all solar energy systems having been approved, and you're saying all material modifications, including but not limited to alterations to the size, type, location, or configuration of a solar energy system. So does that mean that if we show, because usually what we do in all these things is we show a racking layout with a panel that we expect to be able to acquire to put on there, but a lot of times until they can actually place the order, they're not sure what panels are available, which ones they can buy, which ones they can't. So you might do it for a 320 panel and end up having to buy a 340 panel or 310 or whatever. So is that considered a size alteration?
I think that he's talking about the size of the project, aren't you, or the size of
I
the...
would need to look at that. I copied everything, except I didn't bring my own.
Size
It
alteration
was
is...
just vague. It was just vague, and I wanted to nail it
I
down.
thought the
a little.
word size was
I'm
relative
guessing
to the size of the site as to...
Okay, what section are we in now?
The modifications, 6 point, so the 6,
Okay.
6.1.4 is the size.
Oh, okay.
So what he said.
Need to say it louder.
So, Mr. Chairman, the question was, the size is related to the actual acreage of the property or to the actual wattage of the solar system? So what Cal said was, for example, this particular size panel, the panel right now, technology, we can buy, let's say, 340 watt panel. Maybe 6 months from now, during the process of planning and everything, you can now buy the exact same size, just more output on this same size. So now you're sell 340, you can buy 360.
that's...
So the size technically
I'm gonna look-
changed, but
I'm
the
gonna-
square footage
Yeah.
of this
You have it?
area
Okay, I
never
was gonna
changed.
look in the model.
Yeah, I believe the word size is relative to the wattage output.
Well, I think the important part is the very first part before the comma.
All
material modifications. I don't think the size of the panel, as you described it, is a material modification.
I agree with you, but that means somebody else has to make that same decision, and they may not agree with you. So, I mean, that's my only point. Typically when we put a note on the plan that says the layout of the racking within the fence may change based upon the size of panels that we get, because if they're smaller, they'll be closer together. If they're bigger, they'll be further apart. But what we always say is the fencing, the disturbed area, the area of the arrays will not change from this plan. So whatever we do works within the size that's been defined on the site plan, because generally,
Yeah, this is the state
planning board
model.
doesn't care. I mean, why would you care whether?
No, but
Right, well, that I think is material, that there, when we approve it, it's my understanding that we have the small, medium, large, depending on the
Right.
wattage
Right,
and so forth.
right.
But then we
Dimensional
approve
design.
the area.
Right.
And
Unfortunately,
if you
the numbers for the
have,
state model are different. so
then
that's why I
panels
have-
that produce more electricity,
find it.
that wouldn't be a material change.
Right, I wouldn't think so either.
No,
I mean,
no.
if you're right on the border and you permit it as a medium with 310 panels, and you put in 340 panels, and all of a sudden you go
That-
over that
but
limit,
that doesn't change...
that's a material
That
change.
doesn't change for the planning board in terms of...
Well, the only thing
Large scale.
what Susan just said is,
One-
Large,
Yeah.
very large.
What
That's just-
she just said makes some sense, because if we were right on the, let's say somebody, and it wouldn't be us because we would never do this, but let's say somebody comes in right at 250 with 310 watt panels,
Yep.
and then they go buy 350 watt panels and it puts them up to 1.4, I mean to
condition
400
size.
kW instead of 250. Now you've gone from a medium to a large scale, and it's a different use. You may not be an allowed use. So I mean
So
that.
you
The
may
size
want
would
to
be
try
conditioned.
to go,
That would
if
be
you
the
know
condition
that
of
it's
site
going to
approval.
be give or take a couple kilowatts, you might just want to say,
But-
gee, it looks like a
That
large
would
to
just
me.
be-
But if you're in a, you know, if you've got an array that's 875 and it goes to 930,
Yeah.
I
And
don't think
then
that's a
that's gonna
material
be-
change.
No.
And unless you're in a
it's the same
residential
problem.
zone and it's
Yeah.
changing to
Yeah.
a large, then it would be a problem. And
I think.
Well, it
as far
certainly
as-
would, but if you were a large already
Yes.
and you went from being
Yeah.
875 to 910,
then it doesn't change.
that's not a material change.
No, I
Right.
think when you, my point with the right in the cusp of going from medium to large or small, it would be as part of when we do draft the regulations for the board, part of that site plan approval decision to verify in that section the size maximum. So if someone's getting approved for a medium scale, they're not allowed to go over XYZ, the wattage, because that would
Yeah,
bump them
that
up
would
to
make
have to go.
sense, yeah. and
So
it-
we would just
we
put
cer-
that as part of our, after this bylaw gets
Right,
passed.
and once it's once it's a large anyways, a large scale anyways, as long as you're staying within your same footprint, it shouldn't make any difference.
And that's
Right.
technology changes.
That's all I'm trying to get to,
Assuming-
is that's the way I would hope this would be
Yeah, I
crafted.
believe that's the case. And
Yeah, that would be my suggestion. on
Mark
that
and I have
part.
been looking up the model bylaws,
yeah,
from
that's,
the state.
most of
And
this
it
is
says the
based
same
on the
basic-
state's model.
Basically
And
the
so,
same state.
unfortunately, the numbering was different, so it wasn't
Well, I
fine.
can believe the state says the same thing, but the
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
could be vague too, and
Oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
often are.
I think, well, you know, I don't know how many they've permitted, I've permitted
Yeah.
25
Right.
of them, and I've seen this happen on almost
Yeah.
every one, where you start off,
Oh, yeah,
you
the
say you're gonna do
size
a
of the
1.25, and it
panel
ends up being a 1.13, or it ends up being a
Right.
1.42 or something, but the area and the fencing and the racking all stay essentially the same. So that's all I'm trying to get at. So that was one idea.
Yep.
I think the other thing.
Anything else?
It basically says you just need approval, which approval shouldn't be it's not like you have to go back.
Yeah,
to
so the
site
first thing,
plan or-
well, I guess that's what I was wondering.
It just says approval of the plan.
Require as provided in this bylaw, so approval by the planning board is required in this bylaw doesn't mean you have to get a new site plan approval? Modify your site plan
Not again
approval.
unless you're trying to squeeze a large into a medium.
Right.
Then you would have a
Well, this is a
problem.
good thing to remember.
So
We,
did Cinderella.
part of this too, later, we have regulations, so we'll interpret
Right.
some of the things that aren't clear in the bylaw, and this is probably one of the things we'll
Yeah.
want to clarify in regs that the board can adopt and modify afterwards without having to go to town meeting for stuff like this, interpretation, you know,
Okay, so I guess
process stuff.
I'm just encouraging you to put a star by that, so you can
Yep.
think about that.
Yep.
You need to
And I
do
put that in the regulations.
that. On the next page, you talk about glare from solar panels. I mean, I suppose you can leave that in. Rohit, are there any solar panels that have glare?
Well,
Because solar panels are designed to absorb sunlight. They allow solar panels on right next to runways of airports. And if there was a glare issue, you would never be able to put them there because pilots would get blinded by it. So,
Right.
and it's something in the DEP guidelines, if you read through it, they talk about, yeah, glare is not an issue because these things absorb sunlight, they don't reflect it. They're less reflective than say, a pond. A pond has been shown to be more
Right.
reflective than what these solar panels are.
Yeah,
So-
again, that came from the state model,
Yeah.
and,
I mean, they're still made of glass.
Yeah.
Well, they've got glass
So
over
there's
them,
going
sure.
to be some, but I can't say to you, like what you just said, a pond does reflect a lot more glare than.
Right.
and
But if it was
so
covered in
the
ice,
question becomes,
it
is
would
a lot of
cover.
this is becomes
If
a
it's still
little
covered in
bit,
snow, it'd be worse.
this
Yeah.
particular
Yeah,
section.
exactly, so you'd have to clear that.
so, I mean, that,
I think it's
Oh,
just
the
a
panels-
general
the
comment,
panels
it
slide
doesn't-
off.
Yeah.
It's just a
To a
general.
point that does
Right.
stack up.
Yeah.
You get a
that
little-
came from the
Well,
state
but
model.
It's not gonna be any
and-
worse than if the field around it
Yeah.
wasn't done and you put snow on it, so it's not gonna matter.
Right.
The only reason I'm saying that is because that's a piece of misinformation that comes up where abutters come in and say, oh my God, the glare is gonna be terrible, it's gonna blind everybody driving, and
Yep.
this kind of encourages that by saying you don't have glare. So somebody coming in is going to have to fight the battle of convincing everybody
Oh,
that
that
there's no
there's no
glare
glare.
on the solar panels, because
Mhm,
they're less glare than water. They're about the same as a field of grass, and they're intended to absorb sunlight, not reflect it. And so it's just going to, so just whatever that's worth. So diminution of residential property values. Talk about vague. That's a tough one. Who's going to make that determination? How are you going to make it?
That's right there.
And how are you going to prove you're not? You can't prove a negative.
Town assessor does that, not us.
Well,
Yeah, but your town assessor's never going to put himself in a position
no.
No.
of making that determination for site plan approval. So
No.
that's essentially, in my mind, an unmeetable, unevaluated, you'll have an inability to effectively evaluate that and make any sense. So that's the kind of thing I see in bylaws where people are trying to obstruct the approval process, because then they can say, well, you're going to kill this property value.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
And you're going to say, no, I'm not. They're going to say,
That's
prove
got to
it.
be in the state model here.
Well, how do I prove it?
That's where it
You
came
know?
from.
Yeah.
But
So that one scares me.
It's-
I think that's a really tough thing.
I'm very sympathetic to that one, because I think the whole idea of the state law saying that you can't unreasonably prohibit it is because of that argument.
Yeah, I mean, that's
So-
made all the time. Similarly, the health and welfare, that's a real tough one to pin down.
But there probably are some things like clear cutting a forest.
Sure.
Next to, that would actually have that effect.
Right.
So, is there some way we could define it so that it's less ambiguous?
Oh, maybe because it's a
Within the
criteria to
regulations.
consider, we could minimize
I think
potential
you-
impacts.
I think that the whole intent of this and of your regulations is to regulate them well enough so that you are minimizing that effect.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Because the
and I
solar,
think-
the solar panels by themselves wouldn't probably hurt property value, but if you clear cut a beautiful forest right next to a scenic area.
Okay, so
could-
that may impact somebody's residential property value, because now you don't have a forest right next to it. But
Well,
But it's not
But
the
what about
solar
property,
values, just
what
kind of
about
emphasize
private
this.
property?
Yeah,
rights?
but I
Right.
mean, established residential areas,
Yeah.
individual impacts to least detrimental to these.
Instead of saying diminution of residential property values, to minimize impacts on,
It's almost repeats.
I mean, my fear of that is you say, well, you're gonna
Yeah.
cut down the forest, that's gonna hurt my property value. Well,
Yeah.
okay, but it's my property. If I wanna cut down the forest and put a field in there, I can do it anytime I want. And if it hurts your property value, so what? That's not my concern, because it's my property, right? Now, it's only when you start putting a solar field in there that you start tying it to property values that it becomes real kinda shaky in my mind. So that's one that I'm really scared of.
Right.
That one really, because somebody who wanted to stop a project that was perfectly allowable in every other way could hammer that thing.
In every other way, but that kind of, you probably exaggerated to make your point, but I think that idea of the planning board is to protect people's property rights, which is protecting the abutter's property rights.
Absolutely
Kind
agree.
of a balancing,
I mean,
not just saying,
I understand, I spent a lot of time on the planning board myself in
Yeah.
Harvard, so.
but it is kind of a
I guess-
balancing.
But I guess, yeah, I think it is, and I think the point I'm making is, I challenge you guys to make your criteria specific enough so that you don't need a catch-all like that, that says, if you diminish residential property values, we could turn you down. Because that's not really giving anybody any comfort, where if you can say, we want screening, we want, prevention
Well,
of runoff, we want.
that to me is also not measurable right
Right.
now.
I'm,
We don't have a real estate agent to go out and say, okay, what does this do to
right, and it's one person's
citizen
word
A,
against
B,
another.
C, and D
Right.
on every site plan?
Yeah.
I mean, the planning board is about allowed uses in certain areas of town. End of story.
Right, and you
Well,
can't, and if you have an allowed use on that property, the
Then-
fact that it may if you're allowed to put an industrial building on this
Economic
piece of
forces
property.
can change in a heartbeat.
Right, and it was a forest, and it's going to be an industrial building, and it's
Yeah.
allowed use, and this guy lives
Yeah.
over here, he says, you're gonna hurt my property values. Well, maybe, but
Okay,
Yeah.
but
Shouldn't have bought
maybe
next to
there are
industrial
other sections too about screening and fencing
Oh,
and
sure.
so forth. So-
Right.
Sure there are,
So
yeah.
maybe we could work with
There will be
the language that said that the aesthetics and
Especially in the regs,
property
yeah.
value shall, that we can require somebody to do.
I don't think this board is at the point where we want to tell what color people have to paint their house.
No, no. I mean, we could strike G from there, and I don't think we would lose any
Right.
discretionary power,
That's-
as long as we make sure that the regulations cover the
Right.
things that would prevent residential impacts.
That's,
But without that, without it in there at all, then do we still have the authority
Yeah.
to say we need screening
Yes.
and?
Right.
Sure.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
It'll be the regular.
Within elements of public safety and such, but
And
Right.
come October, we
Yeah.
can always amend this.
diminution of property value, that's not
Just
something we
setbacks and
can,
screening.
It's hard
if
to,
that's in the state guidelines, I'm surprised, because they're asking for trouble every time we put that.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, somebody's gonna sue them over it someday.
yeah.
Moving on, next page, page 5, 8512.3 modifications. All material modifications of solar energy facility, again, it's just that all material modifications, I guess, when I saw that again, I was just
Ah.
saying, that's kind of vague, what's a material modification, but I think we kind of hashed that out already, maybe. So.
Right,
But down below, the next one under abandonment removal requirements, 8513.1. At the time of removal, the solar site shall be restored to the state it was in before the system was constructed or to any other legally authorized use. I don't have any problem with any other legally authorized use, but the state it was in before the system was constructed. I think you need to think about that. If we go in and you have a hillside and we grade it off level, and it was a forest and now it's a field, and you take out the panels, now are you requiring somebody to go in and replant the forest? And are you requiring them to regrade it the way it was before you came in? Because that's what that says. I don't think that's what you're asking for.
yeah, I think even our surety agreements simply require the proper removal and/or disposal of material that was put on the
I
site.
think that's right,
Right,
and I think
yes.
stabilization,
End it
I
there.
think planting to make sure that you don't have any erosion.
Right,
I'm just thinking, I don't know what you want to do, but I'm just thinking you need to be more specific. I think
Well,
that,
the intent is so that the town doesn't bear the cost of
understand.
right.
you know what I
I
mean
agree
by
with you,
awful,
yeah.
OFFAL, right?
Yeah, right. No, I agree with you, and I think before the system was constructed is not
Well,
what you're asking for, really, not what you
No,
want.
I think that's what that means, is that it's all cleaned up and stabilized, and no one's expecting that 50-year-old trees are going
So
to immediately
I would,
appear.
yeah, and I think that's what you mean,
Yep.
so I would
You don't
just
think
encourage
the
you to
next-
But
try.
then you're not gonna have big concrete blocks that's gonna prohibit
Yeah.
We're-
I just think it should be more
the next
specific
section
with what you're
says
asking.
more specific. The next section talks about what's more specific.
You do, I saw that, yeah, you do have a bunch of stuff, and I think that goes a long ways to saying it. I guess I'm just thinking that you may want to reword that so it's not in conflict with what your specifics say afterwards.
Restored to a naturally vegetated condition or something.
Previously.
Well, not previous, because if there's forest on there, you can't replace forest, but it,
I think you just replace it with something that says refer to the, at the time of removal, refer to the decommissioning requirements below.
Well,
Yeah, because you got stabilization.
see, I
Okay.
would have
Vegetation.
assumed that that's what it meant, but what if it wasn't forested? Would you be required to?
Right.
It basically says,
To
we've got it.
put it-
so, okay,
Well,
so,
your
it's-
criteria
plantings
says
if it-
says stabilization.
right,
Yeah.
So if it was just a gravel pit, you're gonna have to change it to be something that's stable, so you'll have to put loam and seed and everything else. So I mean, that's, you know, it might be more required than just making it like the way it was before. You might wanna make it better than it was.
right.
So by having those specific criteria, I think that gets you there.
It tells you the full criteria to decommission it. So
Yeah.
I'd say we change the last sentence to clarify it and refer to the decommissioning.
So at the time of removal, let's try to
At
write
the
that
time
down.
of removal, the solar system shall be restored in accordance to the decommissioning requirements below.
That, yeah. Shall be restored in accordance with the decommissioning requirements below.
Right.
And then if you think of something else you want to put, you just have another decommissioning requirement. huh? So the next one's, I think I know what you're saying. I'm just gonna be a kind of a jerk in this one. So, under abandonment, a large-scale ground-mounted, second sentence, large-scale ground-mounted solar energy system shall be considered abandoned when it ceases to operate for more than 12 months without written consent of the planning board. Cease to operate is defined as not performing the normal functions associated with a large-scale system and its equipment on a continuous and ongoing basis for a period of 1 year. So do I need to have it not operate for a period of 1 year before it can start the 12-month period to be considered abandoned?
Again, I think you have to start out with the beginning of the sentence, absent notice of proposed date of decommissioning. There's probably gonna be a notice of a proposed date of decommissioning, so the rest may not.
It just seemed like that second for a period of 1 year is either unnecessary if you're only talking about a 1 year period, or should be clearer if you're talking about a 2 year period. So it shuts off and doesn't work for a year, and then the planning board says, wait a minute, this thing has been working for a year. And then it says, okay, you've got a year from now because now it's officially ceased to operate. So now you've got a year to get it started again, or we're going to consider it abandoned and take it out. Is that what you mean? Because that's kind of
That's
what this
how I
says.
had
So
understood it.
so it's a 2 year process before you can make them remove it.
Good question. When does the clock start
It
ticking?
doesn't, it says cease to operate shall be.
I think it should read something like the property will be considered abandoned when it does not operate for a 1 year period.
It's basically
Or
says
so
twice.
you could say that a 6-month period and they have 6 months to either repair or remove.
Well, I mean, if you
That
said,
brings
well,
it down to a 1 year if that's what.
I think if you say, it says shall be considered abandoned when it ceases to operate for more than 12 months without written consent of the planning board, that's fine. Cease to operate is defined as not performing normal functions associated with a large-scale energy system and its equipment on a continuous and ongoing basis.
Or we
Stop
should
it
cease to
there.
operate in the
Yeah,
first
right.
sentence.
Oh, okay.
Stop it there, because then you've defined what you mean above, and all
Right.
you've talked about is
Yeah.
12
You've
months.
defined abandoned as
Yeah,
non-operational.
zero
for a year.
years.
Right,
Or a
instead
period of one.
So we
of
could,
giving somebody an end to come back and say, well, you're actually giving me 2 years. You
yeah,
don't realize
so we
it.
could strike that for a period of 1 year at the end of the basis.
That would be my thought.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I got.
Or you write cease to operate.
Good. Cal, thank you very much.
So are these now ready to be the model for all the
Rohit,
other
thank you.
surrounding towns?
We already have the other
Well.
towns, the other towns already have it.
Yeah.
We're the
But
last.
they didn't have
He has
his
some
input.
comments if you want to hear.
Oh, they didn't?
No, I had.
Oh, they did.
Trust me, I'm
Well,
fine.
I'm just, just helping through as a developer, reading through some
Yes,
clarity.
yes.
So the last one I thought was the financial surety that you read through. So some of from other towns I've seen. So one of the things here it says, the last sentence was removal of cost due to inflation. So I always had the challenge is, what's the inflation rate?
Well,
What rate?
it's the rate established by the federal government.
At
Yeah,
what
that would
year?
be,
So that's
Right,
a-
would
that's
be
a
the-
known number.
yes.
You know,
Well,
everyone
I
knows
know
what
that,
it
but
is in
every
business.
Right.
quarterly, it changes sometimes.
Yeah, but it's,
So-
you can go back in time and figure out what that was, and you can get it from the federal government, what the rate was applied.
Right, so you should just say something like due to the inflation rate at the time of application
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
or a year before, whatever, just clarify it. Second thing is, as we've already done in the previous projects, is there's no time of clarity of when this bond or escrow needs to be met. So you just wrote, needs to provide a surety bond for the account in no value exceeding 125 days, 125% of the cost. Okay, well, when? Well, like what we've done in the past, we've given a period of 3 years, 5 years to pay that, to build that up. There's no element of when.
Mhm.
the day of construction, over a period of time.
I think, isn't that one of the things that we would definitely cover in the hearing when we establish the surety?
So like other towns just defined it in their bylaw,
Yeah.
how long it is. You will build up an escrow over a 5-year
You
period.
have to look at these as, you know what it is, in 20 years, when the
Yeah.
next planning
Yeah.
board reads it, do they know what you meant?
Yeah. Or somebody like me coming in and trying to figure out how do I
Yeah, well, I gotta
present this?
I gotta say, we've deferred to legal counsel on that as to what the current adequate coverage would be, and then whatever legal came back and said,
Yeah, 125%. I mean, that
Yeah.
coverage-wise,
yeah,
that's pretty consistent with what we've seen.
okay,
Okay, it's more of what, and this is, I think, you have some room from the different towns.
Yeah, yeah,
Room of how to build that up. Is it, 125% day one,
yeah,
or is it over a 5-year period? I think we did for Air Solar 1, we did 3-year period, and Air Solar 2, we did 4 or 5-year period. So
Mhm.
it's varied, but you don't want to
And,
negotiate that every
You're
time.
you're suggesting that that's, would be easier for the developer
Well,
to
just
have
suggest-
it, to know
Yeah,
when they're figuring ahead.
because
of
then,
time.
like Heather said, is then everybody knows, instead of me coming to you and saying,
yeah,
I want 2 years.
let's negotiate.
Let's
Yeah.
negotiate at the table every time.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys pretty much defined it as either a bond or escrow,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is good.
Is there, you've been doing this long?
5 years.
Is there any reason to need to negotiate, depending on the project?
Well, there's always a need to negotiate, quite frankly, I mean, but I could live with, say, within a 5-year period, as a window of, and they may do it sooner,
Do no more than 5-year period.
no more than a 5-year period. So they got an idea what they're getting into,
Where would we
25, yeah.
place that language if we, from,
not to exceed.
Because if it's a small amount, you're not gonna give them more than 5 years.
5-year period then?
I think, again, in the past, we've gone with a fixed dollar amount based on legal advice at the time for the cost of doing business.
Well, the panels have a life of 20-plus years, so when we put the inflation over a longer period of time,
Oh, no, so that's not the inflationary. So what I've done in the past with the inflationary piece, I ran 2% over
Yeah.
the 20-year period of time, or 25-year period of
Yeah.
time. That's the models that I've provided in the past.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's the cost of removal of the system. So we took today's value, 125%, and then
And
2-year,
2%.
and then I took a 2-year percent. This is basic saying, okay, so we came up with a number. After 20 years, Chairman, we came with, what was it, like $35,000. Okay, now, when do we pay that? So now you can say, okay, over the next 5 years. So you
Right.
can do basically $7,000 for the next 5 years. Build it up.
agreed?
That's what I was talking about.
Comments?
Board Member Diskin.
thank you. So the main problem we have here is, it's not an inflationary problem, it's defining when the surety gets paid, or if it's paid in cash.
Yeah, I
Paid
mean,
in
here,
full.
yeah, I mean, it's not
Paid in
clear. I
full,
mean,
it's- we don't
I'm not
get-
gonna
it's
say
only
this, but
cash.
other people could come and say, well,
It's, yeah, how
I don't
long
have
they
to,
have
I'm
to build
negotiating
the
with
house.
you, or this could say I can pay in year 19.
If it's a $10,000 bond, you do that over the course of a year or two. You're doing 35, 40, you're gonna wanna give the developer some time to build that.
Mhm.
If you do no more than 5,
I
you're
mean,
giving
this
them-
is-
So saying up to 5, because again, depending on the amount of the bond, it
I
might
mean-
be some negotiating there.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I
still
know
gives-
I've seen some
Still gives you an
groups
idea
do
of.
between 5 and 10, it depends.
Mhm.
I've seen, most of the towns I've seen are around the 5-year, obviously, if I know other counterparts of me try to come and say, let's do 10, okay, I'm not
I think we just have to
gonna deny
add
that.
language that says payable within 5 years, or payable at the end of the 5th year, or something like that.
You wanna put a max on it, because you wanna be able to allow to cut that back down. If you define the 5, they're gonna ask for a $10,000 bond, be paid over 5 years. Why? you're putting a $100,000 project in or whatever, why are you giving them 5 years to give you $10,000? You wanna have them pay to you in a year or two. If you max it at a certain one, then you're not telling them when they have to give it to you by, when they do the full amount by, not when it all has to be done. So you gotta take up to, you gotta give them a max, but they're allowed to negotiate down if the surety of gone is lower. Especially when you're looking at something as infrastructure goes. If you're giving somebody 5 years to pay you down and
It's
it's
a
a lot
tiny,
of
tiny number.
infrastructure
Compared to a
going
$2
in.
million project.
Yeah,
The amount of money that
exactly.
we're asking for decommissioning is not even in the project.
We're not talking
It's
about
less than
decommissioning.
1/10 of 1%,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
But I'm just saying, but if anything were to
1% is
happen,
$200,000.
and you don't have that bond, because you gave them 5 years to pay it, and they're 2 years in, and it's a small bond, what are you gonna do?
Projects.
You gotta give the chance for the board to negotiate. If you just put it a flat 5, you can't do that. You gotta give it space for negotiation. You have to say up to 5 or up to 7, or no more than.
Yeah, not to
You
exceed
can't-
5
yeah,
years.
you can't just say
What
a
did you say?
flat.
I didn't see that was because I had to recuse myself, so I haven't
Yeah.
seen the covenant that was written.
Oh, yeah, no,
Oh,
no,
right.
and that's.
What did you say in that?
I'm just thinking any bond that's written.
Yeah, the one that
Well,
just
that
got
one's a little
approved.
different.
Yeah, I'm
Comment,
just thinking
Cal.
any bond that's ever been
Yeah,
written.
the only thing I was gonna say is, bear in mind what you're doing, you're setting up
Yeah, for the future.
an escrow account, because somebody's putting millions of dollars into this thing,
Yeah.
they're not gonna abandon it 2 years into their.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
They're gonna
right.
abandon it
Well,
20 years.
you don't plan to.
Right.
You go bankrupt
Well,
and
why
you're
would you?
gone, I
Because
mean,
you
there's
get
not
it
much
up
time
and
to
it's
do.
running and it's generating
Well,
electricity.
You're
You're not
spending
gonna
a
walk
lot
away
of
and
time
you're
on
fine,
something that
abandon it.
It's all,
You
I
should
know,
have to
I,
spend
But
it
if
6
you're
times.
talking about
It's pretty
a
simple.
solar
Well,
system
Just give
that
us a
lasts
check for
30
the
years,
amount at the front and get it over with. That's
very
fine.
good
I'm
chance
just
there's
giving
a
you-
chance
I
that
just
you
wanted
might
to bring
be
it up
dealing
to you
with
guys.
somebody
Yeah.
else by the time that
Development.
is
Oh, yeah,
decommissioned.
I'm not saying you don't wanna do it, I'm just saying, by giving them a little bit of time in the beginning of the process, you're really not at risk very much, because
Right.
they wanna get the value out of all the money they've spent.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're not gonna walk away in year 3 because they don't like it or something. You know,
I
they're
kind
gonna
of
say,
think, I think it
want
works the way it is.
want
And I-
That's
So you
If
think
you
that
read it,
the
you just-
existing language is
It
sufficient?
talks about, the applicant for principal bond, shall provide a form of surety to cover the cost of removal in the event the town must remove an installation, remediate landscape, the amount determined be reasonable by the planning board and the applicant.
Yes.
I mean, that's, covers like
It
a pretty
covers-
easy
I
discussion.
think it's just, it's what's reasonable
They
to
choose to
this
provide a
board, what's
surety.
reasonable to the
Then
next
we
planning
learn-
board, what's reasonable to this applicant, what's reasonable to the next applicant, is all gonna be different. And just say a set,
I just
Would make
know
it easier,
this
I
discussion
think.
is based on the 3 years I've been in front of the board here, we've negotiated 2 different agreements.
Mhm.
That's all I can say to you, is that we've
Well, you
negotiated.
had 2 different boards.
And so that's all I'm trying to say to you. Like you said, 2 different boards, 2 different groups,
Yep.
lots of different negotiations.
Yep.
If you want to define it a little bit better, it just gives you a little bit more of a box to work through. That's
Yep.
all I'm just saying.
Okay.
Even-
Further comments, then, we should move
Yeah,
on.
Move on.
Mark, anything to move on to?
No, but we should just reiterate, if we are making some minor changes, what they are before there's a motion.
Okay,
I believe what we tentatively agreed to was in section 856.4, large-scale ground-mounted systems, item G, actually, yeah, 85643 under that, removing diminution of residential property values.
yes.
Okay. And we will clarify the other impacts on the regulations, which
Yes.
gives us more flexibility. And then in 8513.1, removal requirements, page 5, the last sentence, at the time of removal, comma, the solar system site shall be restored in accordance with the decommissioning requirements below.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And and then on last page, 8513.2, abandonment. After the words ongoing basis, removing the term for a period of 1 year, since it's mentioned above.
Correct.
So the sentence would end at basis, period. I believe that captures discussion we just had. I'm looking at Ken since he was taking
What about the
good notes.
surety bond business?
Yeah, I thought we said that we felt that that was covered because of the flexibility clause there. And then
Would do that within our regulations then?
Yes.
For a 5-year window, okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think it's, I agree with Rohit in that it's been complicated. I think this paragraph will be okay if we set up a regulation
Yeah.
that states how we're gonna do it,
Right.
separate from the bylaw. So
Right.
when an applicant comes in, we're gonna have a separate set of regulations that are gonna control the construction and whatnot.
right,
In those regulations, that gives us a chance to
Yeah.
highlight the requirements of the surety
And
rather
if,
than.
and if at some point you
Specifically.
find yourself
yeah.
fixing a lot of these items,
Yeah.
you can always.
Now, that's not to
amend the
say
bylaw.
a future board wouldn't consider changing their own regulations. I mean, it's more
Correct.
than likely not likely that they
Not
would do
likely.
that. I mean, we've been going off the same script since 2001, so.
You're not a usual town.
But, anyway, okay, I think we're ready then to close the public hearing on,
Well, we have to make a motion on the changes, right? No?
Yeah, yes, we would have to make a motion to accept the minor changes as
Okay,
just read.
okay,
Yes.
okay. I need a motion then to approve the administrative changes as elicited by our town planner.
So moved.
Do we need to read them in, or?
Here we-
You want to repeat them again? He already,
No, that's fine. I
Oh.
heard them.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
okay. No, we're good. Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. Good. I need a motion then to close the public hearing on the proposed solar bylaw.
So moved.
Do we need a motion to accept the solar bylaw as changed at this point? Or is that what we just did?
You did.
No, we already did that.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
You would be proposing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. Good job, folks. Good job. Cal, Rohit, thank you very much. Town planner update, if there is one.
My update is there will be one more informal forum, which is just a public informational session
Yeah.
on the bylaws that I will be giving next Wednesday, March 7th, in the Great Hall. It won't be a public hearing where we can change things or discuss. It'll just be, getting people ready for the town meeting. I'll give the same presentation. It helps me to practice. And,
That sounds good.
so that'll be next Wednesday at 7 PM in the Great Hall if anybody would like to participate.
Okay.
Basically an informational
Okay, as
session.
we indicated earlier, the administrative announcement really is one that calls for a vote, and that is to say we need to
Yes.
vote. I need a motion to approve a meeting schedule of the second and fourth Tuesdays at 6:15, and that's scheduled to begin after the April elections, which would likely be our first meeting in May.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion?
Was,
I'm sorry?
I'm trying to remember what
Jeff Tillman.
Jeff, yes.
who is not here, was saying that he would be able to change his schedule?
He said he would be, he said he would be by May.
He's been working on changing for both. I mean, it's just to him that we do our best to keep all items as far as voting wise to one meeting if we can. And ones that if he has a hard time making them, have those be more or less administrative items. Or simple A&Rs that can just be
Right.
as best we can.
So
I mean,
he
I
was-
can't,
I think
I
it's-
can't affect the
he was
timeline of things.
Yes,
but-
I think it's fair to say too, that it's not likely we'll have to have 2 meetings a month.
Yes, you will.
Well, it depends.
Like I said.
yeah.
Doesn't matter who the chairman is, I guess.
We think it's a great idea.
My kids do too.
I bet.
So much for the chair's opinion. Anyway, but no, it's good that we have at least that window of opportunity to take care of business, so. Well, and actually, prior to this, it was always meeting at the call of the chair, which in years past, I would spend hours and hours in the planning office, and then find I have to call a meeting. So it was very sporadic. Whereas this gives a more even flow to our schedule. If you've got a scheduled plan of meeting twice a month, you can more effectively manage your timeline.
It's much easier to cancel a meeting than to have to schedule one.
Yes, true.
We determined that the selectmen are the first and third Tuesdays, right?
Okay.
Is that it?
You're a member of this town, you don't know when
Well,
the selectmen meeting.
No, normally it is, though for March, they're changing that
Right.
from,
And so,
Okay, so again, I
Yes,
need to
yes,
call the
that's
vote on the
correct.
motion as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous.
okay.
Any further business for the board before I call for a motion to adjourn?
town planner,
Nope, I'm set.
you're kidding me.
We're good?
What, you
Okay.
kidding me? Sorry.
Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.